Here's your first look at the Avatar: The Last Airbender movie. Welcome back to Nerdist News. I'm Dan Casey, and today we're breaking down the first look at the highly anticipated Avatar: The Last Airbender movie.
It's time for you to stop doing this!
No, not that one, and not the Netflix series either. There's only one Avatar adaptation in Ba Sing Se, and it's coming out in 2025 from the newly minted Avatar Studios. We're gonna break it all down for you in just a moment. If you prefer to read all about it though, Amy Radcliffe has you covered over on Nerdist.com. Now, we're not gonna spoil anything about the movie itself, but we will be touching on some plot lines from the comics. So if you're worried about potential spoilers, well, grab your cabbages and get out of here.
Oh, my cabbages!
Okay, let's get into it, shall we? Avatar fans have been anxiously awaiting more animated adventures with Aang, Katara, Sokka, Suki, Toph, Zuko, and Appa ever since the show concluded its run back in 2008. And while their saga did continue in graphic novel form from Dark Horse Comics, and some characters made appearances in The Legend of Korra, Avatar fans have had to be awfully patient for well over a decade now. But last week at Cinemacon in Las Vegas, Paramount shared a first look at the highly anticipated Avatar: The Last Airbender animated movie, and a release date as well. Whereas The Legend of Korra takes place some 70 years after the original series, this first look at the film suggests it'll take place about a decade or so after Season 3. This first look at the film revealed adult versions of Aang, Katara, Sokka, Zuko, and Toph leaping into action in the midst of what appears to be Republic City. While Appa and Suki are nowhere to be seen, fingers crossed we'll get plenty of yip-yips and kick-ass Kyoshi warrior action in the final movie. Now, little's known about the actual plot of this film, which comes out on October 10th, 2025. The film will be directed by Lauren Montgomery and produced by Avatar co-creators Michael Dante DiMartino and Brian Konietzko, as well as Eric Coleman. Last summer at San Diego Comic-Con, rumors were swirling that the film would center on Kyoshi, the badass Earth Kingdom avatar, but Braving the Elements co-host and voice of Korra, Janet Varney, took things a step further. She trolled audiences by reading the Rise of Kyoshi book, but ultimately confirmed the movie will focus on Aang and the gang. And now we know from this first look it will truly be uncharted territory. Events immediately after the original series have been pretty well explored before in graphic novel form. For example, The Promise explored how average people picked up the pieces of their lives in the wake of the 100-Year War. The aftermath of this conflict caused by the Fire Nation saw formerly conquered nations and colonies taking the first steps towards self-governance. And one of these first major steps outlined in The Rift was the establishment of the Earth and Fire Forge. It was a hugely successful collaboration between the Earth Kingdom and the Fire Nation. And as we later saw in Imbalance, that eventually led to the creation of Cranefish Town, a bustling industrial center that would later evolve into Republic City by the time of Legend of Korra. Founded by Avatar Aang and Fire Lord Zuko, Republic City blossomed into a bustling metropolis and the capital of the United Republic of Nations. As I mentioned, the timeline of the graphic novels encompasses events that primarily take place relatively soon after the events of the show, so perhaps this movie could explore the early days of Republic City and the challenges inherent with trying to govern a land that had only known war for decades and decades. And for a deeper dive into what exactly happens after Avatar: The Last Airbender, how it sets the stakes for The Legend of Korra, and what it could mean for the movie, check out our episode of Animation Investigation, which I'll link to in the description below. But, folks, to understand the origin of this movie, we need to give a little context. Water, earth, fire, air. Long ago, the four nations lived together in harmony. Then everything changed when Michael Dante DiMartino and Brian Konietzko went full Fire Nation on the Netflix adaptation of their beloved show. Back in 2018, Netflix announced they had enlisted DiMartino and Konietzko to shepherd a live-action TV show adaptation of Avatar: The Last Airbender. Then, in 2020, DiMartino shared an open letter to fans revealing they had left the project after 2 years of development. Citing creative differences, DiMartino gave a compliment even more backhanded than Sokka's boomerang. Of the Netflix project, he wrote, "And who knows, Netflix's live-action adaptation of Avatar has the potential to be good. It might turn out to be a show many of you end up enjoying. But what I can be certain about is that whatever version ends up on screen, it will not be what Brian and I had envisioned or intended to make." Meanwhile, the Netflix adaptation is still steadily marching forward, having announced its full cast last fall. In a statement via Netflix, showrunner Albert Kim pledged to make a show that will both honor the source material while expanding on it. We'll be expanding and growing the world, and there will be surprises for existing fans and those new to the tale. But throughout this process, our byword has been authenticity. To the story, to the characters, to the cultural influences. Authenticity is what keeps us going both in front of the camera and behind it, which is why we've assembled a team unlike any seen before, a group of talented and passionate artists who are working around the clock to bring this rich and incredibly beautiful world to life. As for DiMartino and Konietzko, they decided to return to the world of Avatar in an even bigger way, with the formation of Avatar Studios. This newly formed division at Nickelodeon is dedicated to making original content including animated series and movies in the worlds of Avatar: The Last Airbender and The Legend of Korra. And this Avatar feature film marks the first major release from Avatar Studios, so it'll be interesting to see what happens in the less than 100 years war between them and Netflix in the meantime. Of course, with that said, we're just hoping for even more awesome airbending action regardless of who's purveying it, because after all, there are no streaming wars in Ba Sing Se. Anyway, folks, there you have it. That's everything you need to know about the first look at the Avatar: The Last Airbender animated movie. We'll keep you posted on any updates in the meantime over on Nerdist, but for now, tell us, what do you think of this news? What do you want to see from the Avatar movie?
I'm just saying, weird stuff happens to us.
Let us know in the comments below, and for the latest and greatest in the world of pop culture, make sure you stay tuned to Nerdist.com.